Season 7 of The Walking Dead is on a roll. Seeing how Negan's men spend their time and their lives was amazing. Seeing their economy was even better. And they did it in a way where we just focused on one man and his delicious sandwich for a good portion of the episode. That was creatively done. The Walking Dead in the past few seasons, and especially the last season, has been taking more creative, artistic approaches to the episodes, which is a great thing. If you're going to be telling stories, especially stories that sometimes repeat themselves, why not mix it up some? We don't need the same recipe over and over. God, and how cool was it seeing everyone kneel whenever Negan went by? I've always loved seeing how a person can have such power over a large group of people and why they don't rebel or say, you know what? Fuck you. I'm not kneeling. I'm not serving. Though there's just way too much psychology and sociology that goes into why people follow leaders like this and why communities like this even happen. But I do enjoy seeing people drink the Kool-Aid. Negan will take care of you. We are Negan. And in contrast, it was fun seeing someone that didn't drink the Kool-Aid and realized exactly what Negan was, or at least was willing to admit what Negan was. And that person rationalizing what Negan is gave us the opportunity to see someone that still follows Negan try to rationalize the whole thing and why exactly they follow this leader. So while we did get some monologuing and perhaps some exposition, and I don't really generally like it when it's delivered this way, I still think it was a good scene to show the contrast with someone that's willing to admit what is going on and someone trying to justify what is going on. Seeing their defenses was also a blast. The Walker maze would be terrifying to go through. Your helper or bodyguard makes one mistake as you're going through, and that's goodbye. On to Daryl. I know we're supposed to be grossed out by Daryl eating dog food, but I think Daryl's eaten worse things at this point in his life. I think a lot of people, if they've survived this long and they weren't immediately in a safe area they remained in, have also eaten worse. So I guess that just didn't really faze me. The naked in a dark room would be terrifying. Imagine always being in the dark and cold. Then imagining having all that time to think about because you stepped out of line and decked Negan. Your friend got killed. That's a whole lot of time to dwell on your mistakes. It's easier to move on or keep it from your thoughts when you're doing things to survive or have other tasks to perform. All Daryl had this episode was time. I love the music being part of the psychological torture. Also, it was sort of a message. This is pretty bad, but we could make it so much worse for you. So be grateful. Here's some clothes. I will say I am happy to see Daryl didn't return to his cell when she warned him it will be worse. If he had, that would have meant that Daryl was broken, and Daryl has been through way too much in his life, even before the zombie apocalypse, to have been broken that quickly. I mean, they even showed that with him not flinching when Negan was going to hit him with the bat. Daryl was ready to die for his morals and his beliefs and standing up against Negan and saying, no, I'm not going to bow to you. And I like how finally in the end they touched on why Daryl can't give in to Negan, why he can't bow to him, why he can't take his offer and end his torture. I think part of it is that Daryl does think he deserves it. He got his friend killed, that's weighing on him, and he thinks, oh, well, I deserve what's happening to me because Glenn's not alive, because I chose to deck Negan, despite Negan's warnings about what would happen. On the other hand, you could also say that Daryl is saying, I can't kneel because of my friends, because I have to stay strong for them. But what I think is more likely is that Daryl doesn't want to kneel to Negan and he doesn't want to give in because Glenn died at that man's hands. Yeah, maybe Daryl was responsible for it happening at that moment, but Daryl still sees the man that killed his friend. And for Daryl to then kneel down and say, yes, I'll serve you. Yes, I'll be your right-hand man. I will serve you. That would spit on Glenn. And Daryl wasn't about to do that, especially with his death so fresh on his mind. So Daryl not giving in and not breaking was just so true to his character, and I'm so thankful to the show writers for not breaking him and for him not giving in. But let's talk more about Negan. Man, does Negan love mind games. Lucky Lucille isn't thirsty today, but I am. So I'm gonna go get me a drink. Master of mind fuckery. I really like how Negan paints himself as the good guy too. I was gonna take care of her in sickness and health because I'm a stand-up guy. Because putting stipulations on your good deeds makes you a stand-up guy, right? Which, seeing these bits and pieces of Negan's rule and how he handles his people, and I know they won't do this, but it makes me want to see Negan's rise to power. I think that would be absolutely fascinating to watch. We saw a bit of their education or re-education process this episode, but how he got those initial followers, the systems he put in place, and how it grew. I mean, his community even has different classes. How amazing is that? And we got introduced to some of the ways he punishes his people, such as the iron. However, despite all that, I know episodes like this appear to be things people call a, quote, boring as shit episode, but I still think it's better than the same thing over and over again. How communities function in this new world is incredible to watch, which is part of the reason I loved last episode. I don't need to keep seeing zombie kills to be excited about a zombie show. Though I understand for a lot of people they just want the same action over and over, just dressed up slightly different each time. But this episode we got to look at another group functioning post-apocalypse, even building some sort of civilization. It's weird to me that people find that boring. One thing that probably seemed minor to non-comic readers, but to comic readers was a big thing, was when Negan was talking to Daryl and said, "You can pick any girl you want, as long as she says yes. This guy will kill, this guy will maim, this guy will disfigure you for life, he will put your face on an iron, but he will not rape." That is a huge part of Negan's character. He considers that just abhorrent. The fact that anyone could rape anyone, that's a no-no to him. Which, you know, could seem a bit odd given the other things he's willing to do or have done, but that's just his character. That's just a little quirk in his character of who he is. However, in the show, it does seem like his moral code is a tad bit different with what he had going on with Sherry, and I'm sure with a few other girls. So I think they are tweaking his no rape thing just a tiny bit, but for the most part, they're staying true to his comic book character. Also, happy hour at the pussy bar was perhaps the best line of this episode. Lastly, the Mercy killing along with how he was with Daryl at the end. This means they're showing that Dwight isn't 100% loyal to Negan, and in the future, he can be persuaded to turn on him. So once again, The Walking Dead is on a roll this season. We got so much information this episode, and it was just spread out beautifully. I'm so sick of the kill, 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 kill. That's great. Action is fabulous. But we get enough episodes of that, and it gets a little bit tiresome unless we can build up these characters and give us a reason to care. Care about them being killed, or about them dying, or about them surviving. And The Walking Dead, if you remember, in the beginning, did a really piss-poor job of developing these characters and making us care. That was a huge complaint in the beginning of The Walking Dead. They just didn't spend any time on them, and instead they focused on other bullshit. And so for me, I'm just so happy that they're spending these episodes to build up these characters, build up these communities, get us to care or hate, so that later in the season, when we have the nonstop action, which is awesome, I love action, but when we get to that, it's going to mean so much more to us because we've bonded with certain characters or we've grown to just despise certain characters. And with a show like The Walking Dead that has as many episodes as it does, they can afford to do that, and they should be doing it. And again, they're doing a beautiful job of developing these characters and communities. But what do you think? Not enough action, not enough zombie killing? Do you just fucking hate character progression, character building? You just want to get right into the non-stop, bloody thick of it? Let me know in the comment section below. Besides that, please like this video, subscribe, and come back for more TV reviews every week.